The New York Mets bring back a big bullpen piece that helped them in the playoffs last year. Plus, John Heyman gives us his latest in regard to Pete Alonso next on Metcast. Welcome back to Metcast, friends. As always, I am Ryan. If you're enjoying this content, I just humbly ask you to like and subscribe. We are just a few subscribers away from getting to that 4K goal, and then we're going to move on to the 5K goal, where we have several giveaways we'll be giving away from our friends over at Foco. And as the season comes about, we'll be doing more giveaways to give back to you, the fans. And today we have a sweet bomb that we've been calling for quite a long time. The New York Mets are in agreement with Ryan Stanek on a 1-year, $4.5 million contract with $500,000 in escalators. To me, it is an absolute no-brainer to bring this guy back. Was he great when he first came back to us? When we first acquire him, excuse me? No, but supposedly he was dealing with some back injuries, and he touted the New York Mets medical staff and being able to get him back healthy for the postseason run, where he was absolutely lights out. Everybody knows what he did. He was in and out of some big spots against even the Dodgers. So big pickup for the New York Mets. It puts the back end of that bullpen in really good position with Diaz, with Minter, with hopefully Daniel Nunez returning. You have Stanek and you have guys like Reed Garrett. This bullpen is starting to become stacked. If I'm the New York Mets, I might look to add just one more piece to that bullpen. Just one more piece might change everything. Shorten these games, 6-inning games. You have the bullpen that's going to be lights out for 3 innings. That just might be the formula for us. And that's the latest update in regard to Stanek. Now, we do have an update in regard to Pete Alonso from John Heyman. Let's take a look.
But right now, again, wrapping up with Alonso, I do believe that the Mets certainly in play. Not sure anything is going to happen anytime soon. The other teams I would mention at this moment.
It better happen soon, John. The New York Mets, I think, have made it very clear. They are not going to stick around forever. That door is slightly open. You saw the reporting yesterday from John Heyman that now Steve Cohen supposedly has reached out to Pete Alonso. And there's also other reports out there that I seen earlier today, which is very important to note, that Pete Alonso has let other agents know he is not involved. Do not contact him. Do not try to poach him away from Scott Boras. It's not going to happen to move on somewhere else, because there was a lot of reports out there saying that maybe other agents felt they could poach Pete Alonso away from Scott Boras the way that Scott Boras poached him away from his current agent. But that's all out the window. Pat Ragazzo confirmed that reporting earlier today.
And again, it's a fluid situation. I think the Jays, the Angels, Giants, and I'm throwing the Reds in there. I don't know if they should be mentioned. I haven't seen that link yet.
I would be shocked if the A's got involved. Absolutely shocked if they got involved. I don't see that happening. They've got their big fish in Luis Severino. They gave an extension to one of their younger guys. They're not going to get involved. We all know Toronto's involved, but at the end of the day, it looks like the New York Mets currently have the best offer on the table, and that's what they're holding out for. And I'm hoping this doesn't drag into spring training. We have spoken about this with you guys on the channel. I am in the position where if this is going to drag into spring training, the New York Mets must move on. Mark Vientos needs to know where he's playing. He is an okay third baseman. He flashes at times where he could be above average, but I don't want him to start learning first base where it's going to take away from his defense at third base, which no doubt it's going to be. You'll hear it early on in the year. Well, he was taking half of his reps at first base, so he wasn't getting any better at third base over here. So maybe that's why he's flubbing a ground ball or throwing a ball away. Spring training is so vital for these guys to get into game shape. And if anything over the last 2 or 3 years has taught us, these early season games, that's one of the most dishonest things I hear from sports fans. Well, it's still early in baseball. Half of these wild cards are coming down to the final game or two. So these games in April and May absolutely mean just as much as they do in September. No one could say otherwise. It's not the way it used to be, where you'd have the top wild card team running away with it, and then you have a second wild card, maybe a couple teams vying for that. Now that they've extended the playoffs, every team's vying for it. There's only a few sellers at the deadline, and those games early on mean so much, just as much as those September games.
But to me, they do make sense. They do seem to be active. They signed Austin Hayes, good signing like that. They are working hard. So to me, that does make sense. But again, I'm not giving up on the Mets. Doesn't sound like anything's too close based on what Steve Cohen told the Met fans at Met Fan Fest at Citi Field on Saturday. But I do think that perhaps they can figure it out, come to some kind of equitable understanding, since the structure of the deal is in place right now. Just the money is the difference, and as it always is, right? It's always about the money.
But how is that? No, the structure of the deal is not in place, John. And usually I agree with John 99% of the time. This is that 1% where I don't agree. You heard Steve Cohen at Amazing Day. The structure is not okay. He didn't like the structures being presented to him by Scott Boras and Pete Alonso. And we got wind that supposedly they wanted to put an opt-out clause in where if Pete Alonso decides to opt out after the first year, he would get like $10 million. So you're pretty much essentially paying between $25 and $35 million for Pete Alonso, who would be guaranteed to opt out. You're not paying a guy like Pete Alonso $35 million. That's absurd.
Money. What would you put the chances? I'm getting chats now by text. I like it. All right. What would you put the chances that Alonso returns to the Mets? I still think it's 50, at least 50-50 that he ends up back with the Mets. Maybe I'm being optimistic from a New Yorker's standpoint, but they're still talking, certainly talking about it. I think they're talking to each other. I think that Steve Cohen likes Alonso. I think he recognizes the fans love Alonso, have a great affinity for the polar bear. And I do believe Steve Cohen does get what he wants.
And that's your update from John Heyman. He still thinks that Steve Cohen is going to get what he wants. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, if there was another offer out there, things might change. But clearly the New York Mets have the best offer. Now you're starting to see those rumors where Pete wants to come back, even if it's on a potential just 1-year contract with the opt-outs in the future. It's almost like the Yoenis Cespedes situation. We traded for him, gave him that 3-year contract, crazy high AAV with the opt-out. He opted out, then we ended up signing him. That's similar to the stuff with Pete Alonso. The only difference is this is no longer the Wilpons. The New York Mets will be shopping in the higher-end market for a potential Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and maybe that's why they didn't give the Tanner Scotts of the world those 4 years crazy numbers. Now, is Stanek a great reliever? No, but he has proven time and time again in the playoffs, he is the kind of reliever that is going to get it done when it matters the most. I am very happy about this move. I still think there's probably one more move to be made. Maybe, just maybe, David Stern swallows his pride and forks over the prospects and gets us a Michael King. That's all I want. Michael King. Get us that front end starter. I would roll with this team with Pete Alonso or without. I think Juan Soto needs his protection. I prefer Pete Alonso here. Make that lineup a little bit deeper. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Again, if you're enjoying this content, I ask you to like and subscribe. We are still a new channel. It's been growing like crazy, and I love interacting with you guys in the comments. Dan and I will be doing a live, I'm hoping, either tonight or tomorrow night, breaking down all this news, potentially get a guest on for you guys. And as the news comes in, I will always be bringing you the news. And until next time, take care.